Hello and welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and I have two very special guests here today to highlight a subject we haven't talked about a lot, which is about our speech programs. So with us today is Elisa Waldman-Sisson. She's a program administrator in learning support, and we have Candace Del Pino, a teacher specialist for speech programs. Welcome, ladies, to NPS Now.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start with you, Candace.
Okay.
Tell us, what does a speech therapist do, and who are the students that you serve?
Okay, well, a speech therapist has many roles. Of course, they do the typical roles that people would assume, the screenings, the evaluations, and speech therapy, but they also have roles in collaboration, modeling and resource, professional development, parent trainings, and other things like that. And we service students all throughout the district, so from our pre-K non-enrolled, our 2-year-olds, all the way through our post-grad students, as well as students in our private schools.
Wow. So, Elisa, approximately how many students receive speech services?
We have about 1,700 students that receive speech services, and that's a significant number. A lot of them get direct, services a couple times a week, but some of them may only get it once a week, and some of them may get it as an indirect service where their teacher and the speech therapist in their school building may collaborate and talk about what are some of the things that they can do in the classrooms for the children to be able to have appropriate access to the curriculum.
So what are the requirements for a school-based speech pathologist?
That's a good question. So, of course, they have to go through a college program and they all have master's degrees. And then past the master's degree, then they have to get a medical board certification through the state. So in order to practice in the schools, they have to have that medical board certification.
That's good. Yeah. So, Candace, tell us a typical day in the school of a speech therapist.
Well, again, that varies from day to day. They are extremely busy, so they carry caseloads, around 60 students that they service. They also do the child find screenings, so our 60-day screenings, which we may talk about later. They do evaluations, report writing, Medicaid billing, take parent phone calls. They deal with transportation. So very busy. And they also participate in school-based activities like PTA and committees and things like that. So it's an extremely busy, varying day.
It sounds like a lot.
Yes.
So how are students identified, and how do you determine other factors that may be impeding their speech and language?
Okay, so students, there are several ways they can be identified. One is through our child find process, which is part of our state regulations that every child that enters school gets a 60-day screening in the areas of speech and language, vision, hearing, and motor. Of course, speech therapists do the speech and language portion, so they can be identified that way. They can also be referred by their parents, teachers, or outside resources. And then oftentimes they may receive some sort of general ed support, and they're identified through that. We do look at impeding factors such as environmental or cultural factors, second language. So we have to kind of rule those things out as not being the cause of a language impairment.
So how can a language deficit impact the student's overall academic progress, and then also including social and emotional skills?
Right, so when we look at speech services in a school-based setting, that is one of the qualifying factors, or one of the criteria for them to receive the services, is it must have an impact on them either academically or socially. So language is in everything we use, whether it's oral language, written language, our communication skills, and it will affect all academic areas. Speech sounds or intelligibility can affect how they are understood or able to relay their wants and needs. And then a lot of times executive functioning skills is another area, and that has a close relationship and is a lot of research to behavior. So sometimes if we feel like children may have some behavioral problems, it could actually be a language deficit.
So there's a connection between the two.
Yes.
Wow. So Elisa, what does it look like success for our students in this area?
That's a great question. and we would look at it on an individualized basis. Our students that we do provide the services for on their individualized education plans or IEPs, they would have goals. And so our speech therapists work with them, and there are other teachers that work with them as well. And we collect data on their goals, and we see how they're progressing. And if they've mastered their goals and we feel like they've achieved them and may no longer require the direct service of a speech therapist, at that point, like Candace just said, if they're able to express their wants and needs, if they're able to articulate, properly, if they're able to overcome some of the issues that they had, or learn compensatory ways to manage and be able to speak and talk and communicate in various different ways, and also to be able to successfully interact with their peers and interact in school in general, then we would look at, do they still require these services and would they be exited? We do have a population of students who this may be lifelong for them based on the nature and severity of their disability. Some of our more severely impacted students may always require some type of speech therapy, whether it be some type of communication device or other supports so that we can understand what it is they're looking for or needing or expressing or feeling, like we were talking about the social emotional, all in through adulthood. But a lot of our students can and will eventually meet their goals and then can be exited through the process.
And there's continuous communication with parents and students when it comes to this and their progress and how things could be going great and then how things could be improved.
Correctly. I mean, we do send home progress or communicate progress at least 8 times a year. And then, we can always have meetings at any time, whether the speech therapist or the IEP team thinks there needs to be a meeting or the parent wants a meeting to talk about the goals and progress. So it's monitored continuously, yes.
And this is for you, Candace. I talked about parents. What other types of trainings or supports do we have for parents and teachers to enhance speech and language development for our students?
Yes, so we try to do a lot, as much as possible. Professional development, we do some professional development and trainings out in the community for parents.
Okay.
We have one coming up on November 19th at the Parent Resource Center at Rosemont Center.
Okay.
And that will be for parent trainings, and that will be coming out on the website and other forms of communication. We also do monthly trainings and all staff days with our staff on current research-based strategies and how to be a resource within their school buildings. So our speech therapists are encouraged to definitely train teachers on language development and language delays and disorders and how to enhance language learning within the classroom.
Almost like look-fors.
Yes.
You tell them what to look for and
Yes, and they go in and they will do model lessons that are highly language-based, and the teachers really appreciate that and grasp onto that and incorporate that within their lessons as well.
Yeah, and speaking of teachers and universities and what have you, what type of partnerships do we have to enhance this type of program?
That's a really awesome question, because we have some really great local universities that we partner with. Hampton University and Old Dominion University. And Candace goes out and we do trainings with their graduate students, and we collaborate with them regularly on like a monthly and quarterly basis. And then the other things is that oftentimes we get interns from them that can then
that's good.
That will then sometimes eventually turn into employees for Norfolk Public Schools. So it's really great. We have received requests from other universities outside of our area for internships for people who, like students who may live in the area but go to school somewhere else and want to come home for a little while and do an internship, and we've had those. But Hampton and Old Dominion University are 2 big ones that we collaborate with quite often.
Okay, so how are you helping students outside of the 1,700 students that need supports?
We do the modeling in the classroom and general ed support. We also do some response to intervention.
Yep.
We do trainings for the parents. We do a lot of pre-referral intervention strategies. So we don't want to over-identify students that may just need some extra support due to environmental or cultural issues and not necessarily a language disorder.
And then our speech therapists, since we have one in every building or every program here in the district, they are always because of their level of knowledge, are always generally looked at in the buildings as a knowledgeable leader. And especially at the elementary level, a lot of the elementary teachers will go to them as a resource. You know, of course, they have their reading specialists and other folks in the building, but sometimes the speech folks or speech therapists can also provide intervention and strategies, like Candace said, for a student that just might be struggling, or we know they come from a home environment where language may be an issue or communication is an issue, and what can we do within the school environment to help that student work on those skills and improve right there in the classroom with their peers. So it could then hopefully we wouldn't have to do a referral process to special ed, and they can get their needs met that way. So they consult a lot with different committees and different teams, and can be part of an ILT team if asked, because they have that level of knowledge with early language and phonetics and phonemic awareness and all that stuff. They are highly knowledgeable in that area.
I'm so glad you all came on the show today to talk about this, because a lot of parents may not know that there's these type of supports there for their students, and it's inclusion, so it's part of the classroom instruction and great opportunities for them to assist their child and for Norfolk to help their children. So thank you both for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.
All right.
And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now. Welcome back to NPS Now. I have a very special guest with me here today, our school board member, Lauren Campson, who is the contact liaison for this new superintendent search that Norfolk Public Schools is going through. So welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you, Karen. I'm happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you on the show. And I know the parents and the community and staff members are happy and excited to try to find out more information about this superintendent search. So I'm glad to have you here today. So tell me, why did we hire and who did we hire to do this superintendent search?
Well, the board talked to them and we wanted to be sure we had expert guidance. You know, with the superintendent, it's not like you can have a call and a whole line of them show up. You really need to do a national search to make sure we get the very best for our students. So we put out a bid. Our project manager, who is Carol Robinson, did that, and then all of those bids that came back in were sent to all the board members, and we all picked our top two. And it turned out we all picked the same ones. And then it didn't. So then, from that point, it really didn't take us long to choose McPherson and Jacobson, who have a history of hiring over 300 superintendents across the country. And the best part is that the superintendents that they hire, the large majority of them remain past that 3-year mark. That tends to be when superintendents turn over. So we're very happy with them. Our consultants with that firm are lifelong educators themselves. They've been teachers, they've been principals, and they've had experience as superintendents.
That's good to know. That's good for parents to know. And I understand that they came to a recent school board work session and they asked some pertinent questions, and specifically they asked, what are the 5 characteristics you want in a superintendent and what do you expect from the search? So what were some of the responses by school board members? And we had two student reps there. What were some of their responses?
Well, the school board was particularly interested in having an experienced superintendent, someone who's already done the job, because we're ready to hit the ground running and we wanted someone that had already done that. So that was very important to us. We wanted to have someone who was an educator and so had experience in the classroom and in the schoolhouse as well as central office. And the students particularly, our 2 student representatives we have who are just wonderful, and they brought to everyone's attention that they were particularly interested in having someone who was responsive to students and listened to the voices of our students. We're actually keeping that in mind as when we do those stakeholder meetings that are coming up, so that students have an opportunity to have input. So we wanted someone that had a history of working well with teachers and well with principals, well with parents and students.
Yes, and they made that perfectly clear.
Yes,
and that was great that they had an opportunity to share their thoughts too.
Well,
so from learning this and the answers to those particular questions that the search firm asked, what are the next steps?
Well, the next step was once we had that information, they needed that information because that's part of the brochure that they distribute to people who express interest in the job. But we also wanted to immediately start setting up with our advertisements, making the information, putting it out in public, because we have our stakeholders meetings coming up next week when our two consultants from the firm, Dr. Carroll and Dr. Farabee, will be here holding meetings. We'll have a dozen and a half meetings that will be going on to invite all of our stakeholders from throughout the city. We will have community meetings each of the 3 days. They're here, 2 in the evening, 1 in the afternoon, located in different sections of the city so people don't have to travel so far.
Right.
We'll be using Booker T. Washington High School, we'll be using Norview High School, and to get a meeting on the west side, we'll be using Larchmont. Picked a lot for the parking. So it wasn't quite such a challenge for our stakeholders to come in for parking.
So those meetings are going to be held on October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd?
Yes, we'll be starting with the 3:30 meeting. Our consultants will fly in that Monday morning, next Monday morning, and we'll start with stakeholder meetings in the afternoon at Booker T. They'll run into the evening. The following day on the 22nd, we'll be at Norview High School from 8 until like 8:30, a long day. And then we will finish up in the mornings with some meetings, a meeting downtown with business and philanthropic leaders, city leaders, before we end up at Larchmont. And then from there, I'll be getting them to the airport so they can fly back out.
And I understand, too, you invited some key individuals to come and have conversations, too. Who are some of those groups?
Well, we were very interested in having people come together that had common interest also. Of course, anyone, all the community meetings, all of these meetings throughout the day are open to anyone who comes. But we tried to focus on some particular groups. For example, we wanted to get to people that work in the communities, our Civic League presidents, our PTA presidents, our faith leaders. So we do have a session for them. We wanted to bring our students in. Student leaders will be coming in midday. We'll be bringing them right in from their schools. We wanted to do it during the daytime where we could ensure that those student leaders would be able to have transportation so they could be there. A lot of business, philanthropic leaders have also been invited. And then, of course, our main group, the parents.
Yes.
The parents.
What do you hope to accomplish through these meetings?
Well, what will happen is the consultants have a list. It will be, they want to focus it on what everyone's looking for in a superintendent.
Okay.
So they'll have a list of 4 questions that they'll be asking each of the groups, and then they will be recording every bit of that feedback from those groups, identifying which groups they came from, and all of this information along with the survey. If you can't get to a meeting, or even if you are, you can certainly take the survey that's on Norfolk Public Schools webpage.
And the school board's webpage,
And the school
too.
board's webpage.
So how can people participate in the surveys? So, evidently there's surveys that they can participate in if they're not able to go to the community meetings.
Or even if they are able to go to the community meetings, we'd love to have them go online to Norfolk Public Schools website and to the school board page. On both of those sites, you'll find the survey. It's not just 1 page long. You fill it in and then you just submit it and you're done. It takes just a couple of minutes, but it does give us valuable information, all of which our firm, McPherson and Jacobson, will be putting together in a booklet for us to use as we get into some hard decision makings once the firm has narrowed down the number of candidates to the 6 or 8 that will be semifinalists.
So how long is this process going to take for us?
Well, we should hopefully be choosing a superintendent, assuming that all the finalists come and everyone on the board is happy with those, in January. Does not mean that they'll start then, because they're often under contract. If they're a current superintendent, they're under contract. And I think if we all remember back to most of the ones that we've had in the past, they arrive July 1st to start the new year. So somewhere in there. Sometimes they might get out a little bit sooner. We'll be ready whenever they are, I can tell you. The school board's very anxious to get our superintendent in place. We're very fortunate now that we have a wonderful interim superintendent, but I think everyone's kind of anxious to see where we're going with this. So we're all very, very excited. We're excited about the stakeholder meetings again, everyone. Remember, next week they're in the schoolhouse. We've asked the principals to be sending them home to parents. They're going to be placed on the desk in the interim as you come into the school board building, so you could dash in and get one that way. And they're also on the school board page again and on the school's website. So please join us at one of our meetings. The school board will not be sitting in the meetings. We'll be there to greet you, different members at different times, but they want it to be just between the consultants and the stakeholders.
Well, that's great. So I'm going to recap real quick. October 21st at 7:30 at Booker T. Washington High School, October 22nd at Norview High School, and October 23rd at 1 p.m. at Larchmont Elementary School. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to seeing not only you, but the parents there and the staff members in the community to share what they would like to see in a new superintendent, and also to do the survey. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
And thank you so much for having me and helping us get the word out.
Great, great. And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now. Welcome back to NPS Now. I have a very special guest with me here today. We have Dion Mack, our Safe School Specialist, who's here to talk about October as Bully Prevention Month. So welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Glad to have you here. This is a very important topic, and I know folks know what it is, but we want to reiterate what it really is. So tell us, what is being bullied?
Being bullied is when you are targeted by a student or even another person, and there's bullying in the workplace as well. But what we're focusing on this month is bullying as it occurs in our school buildings. So when a student is targeted by another student or a group of students who intentionally wants to cause them some harm or discomfort, and that actions that they do towards that child are repeated, and again, they're done with the intention to cause them some discomfort or some harm or to cause them embarrassment, and it's repeated over and over again.
Yeah, so what are some of the different types of bullying?
Oh, there's several types, unfortunately. There's relational bullying, which we see most often in our young girls. It's the kind where, I don't necessarily want you to play with her today, or let's not let her sit with us at the cafeteria table. So that's relational type bullying. There's the verbal bullying, calling people names, which I guess a lot of us are more familiar with, just picking on, the teasing and the taunting. And there's physical, the aggression, physical bullying, where children might take someone's backpack, or they'll push them, or maybe just kick them, or just pull hair. Those types of things are what we consider physical bullying. And one, too, that's becoming more increasingly folks are aware of is a cyberbullying, bullying which takes place through social media or on text or computers.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared this type of bullying, because some of those things some students and parents may be hearing or know about. So if they're being bullied, what are the recourses? What can they do?
Well, here at Norfolk Public Schools, one thing we definitely want to do is we're trying to make sure that we are establishing these relationships with our students, with their teachers and their administrators and those other folks in the building, their school counselors and nurses, security officers as well. But what we want to make sure that all of our students, as well as our parents, know that if they are feeling like they're experiencing bullying or they're having concerns with a way they're being treated in school, that the first thing to do is to just speak. Share that information, share how you're feeling with someone, let that trusted adult know what you're experiencing. Tell a friend. Friends can also be a support system when children are experiencing bullying, and they can help to support that person when they share with the trusted adult what's going on. Let the parents know, and then have the parents know that they're welcome to call the school to report the bullying, and we're here and available to try to assist immediately and help and come to a resolution with that situation.
What does that reporting structure look like?
Well,
is it a phone call, a form you fill out? How does that work?
Well, actually, we have 3 different ways that you can report bullying. Again, just by coming in and alerting your teacher or an administrator, or again, one of the trusted adults. They will take that information and an investigation will begin. If you're not doing it verbally, you can always call our Safe Schools hotline number, and that's 757-628-1171. So you can report it through the telephone, and all calls will remain anonymous if you choose to do so. And we also have our website where you can contact via email at safeschools@npsk12.com.
Yes, safeschools@npsk12.com. So is every claim investigated? And if not, when do you step in to help?
Each and every claim is investigated. Now, whether that claim is founded or substantiated is determined by the investigator, which in most cases is the school administrator. But each and every report of bullying is investigated. And that involves them just talking to the people that are involved, getting all sides to see what's going on, and if it meets the criteria for bullying, which again, if it's intentional, if it's repeated, and again, it means to cause that person some harm, then they will make the appropriate changes to address the situation. It may involve moving the student or bringing both parties in to do just to see what's going on with it. But those administrators have been trained; they know how to handle it and to respond to those investigations, depending upon the outcome.
Is there a time when you can't help when it comes to bullying?
Unfortunately, and in my response to folks when they're calling in on the hotline, and we are concerned about it, but they may report something, especially when it's like with cyberbullying. If it doesn't occur on Norfolk Public Schools grounds, then there's not very much we can do by way of possibly doing any disciplinary action. Excuse me. But what we can do, again, is to try to offer what support we can and then just speak with the parents. But unless it occurs on Norfolk Public Schools grounds or at a school function, or if it's in the case of the cyberbullying, if you're using a Norfolk Public Schools computer or a laptop, outside of that, we don't have the autonomy to do anything to address it.
And I think before we end this segment, we'll get you to share some information about how they can reach out to other folks or go to our website to learn how they can do that too. So do you feel our bullying hotline on our website are being effective to help our students and parents?
I do. I certainly hope so. We do get several calls and we respond to each of them. And once the parent calls or whomever may call in to share their concern, we respond. And we respond typically within 24 hours for sure, if not immediately. And what we do is we make the school aware of it, and the school will respond to those parents and reach out to the children. And I think we've had some success. I've spoken with a lot of parents who, at the time that they've called, and we've had an opportunity to work with them and look at the situation. At the end of our conversations and the end of our working together, they seem to feel a lot better about what's going on.
Yeah, is there a school board policy specific for bullying?
We do. Very proud of the fact that Norfolk Public Schools adopted a policy to specifically address bullying in our schools, in our district, in July of this year. Yeah, so we're excited about that, and we're going to start doing some training at the end of the month on it.
Great. So tell us about the campaign you have going on right now.
The campaign I'm definitely excited about. So next Wednesday, the 23rd of October, will be Unity Day, our first in Norfolk Public Schools, and we want to show that our district is accepting of all of our students, everyone, and we're showing them that we want everyone to be included and be treated with kindness and respect, and that's what we're going to be hoping to bring forth next Wednesday when everybody's all dressed in orange, showing that they're supportive of that. Schools have been sharing with me things they're doing, from everything from parades to signing unity pledges. We've got, our little people with kindness links with little words that they were in. They're sharing those, and they're draped throughout our buildings. We have our middle school students signing banners, and it's just a number of creative ways they've gone. So I'm really excited to see what the outcome will be next Wednesday.
So October 23rd.
October 23rd.
Is Wear Orange.
Wear Orange. Yes, everyone we're asking to support Unity Day and anti-bullying in Norfolk by wearing orange.
So what's the future plans that you have for combating bullying?
We're looking forward to getting our training started. We're going to start, as a result of that policy, we're going to start with doing some additional training with our teachers. We've revised our forms. We're even going to have forms now where they can be uploaded digitally. We had paper forms before, but now we think it'll go through and helping our investigations occur a little bit more quicker, because they just can go right online and do everything digitally. So we're going to be working training on that. We're going to start hopefully getting into our classrooms and supporting our school counselors more. We're providing them some different exciting initiatives that we're going to be discussing that we'll hopefully be bringing to schools real soon.
Great. Thank you for all your
You're
efforts to
welcome.
bring attention to bully prevention. So tell us again about the hotline and the website.
The hotline is 628-1171, 628-1171, and the email address, or where you can leave us an email to report bullying. And again, everything I forgot to say is confidential if you choose to do so. If you care to report and share your name, we definitely can do that. But it's www.safeschools@npsk12.com.
Great. I'm glad that you were able to share this information, and hopefully we'll combat bullying here in Norfolk.
I certainly hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you have any great story ideas or events happening at your school, please be sure to email us at npsnews@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.